This is the fifth module, and the module name is Integration of Environmental Aspects in Product Design. So, as the name suggests, it is use of things from environment point of view in the designing of product. Means how will we design the product from the environmental point of view? That is using environment in the design of product. This is a 5 hours module, and this is the first lecture of this fifth module. So once again, what is the module? Integration of environmental aspects in product design. So when we want to design a product, how we can take into consideration what are the effects of the design of the product on the environment. That is integrating the environmental aspect. So before this, what was the approach for design? The approach for design was only number one, the cost of the product should be two. Number two, the product should be launched into the market as early as possible, and mostly number three, that the functional requirement of the product should satisfy the needs of the customer. Anywhere in the entire design of the product, this thought of how it will affect the environment had never come. See, that's why we can see there are a lot of plastic bags manufactured, because this plastic, which is harmful to the environment, specifically the plastic which is less than the critical dimension, the polyethylene bags and all those things. Otherwise this would have never been started. So this was never thought earlier, and when this thought was integrated in the manufacturing, this concept of integration of environmental aspect in product design had come into the picture. So understand that the entire model will be based on how the design of the product, how the product should be designed by taking into consideration environmental aspect apart from what was happening regularly. Okay, that is there, but how this environment aspect is going to help in, or let us see whether it can help or whether it can create issues while the product is to be designed. This is the content: sustainable development, design for environment, need for life cycle environmental strategies, useful life extension strategies, end of line strategies, introduction of environmental strategies into the design process, life cycle environmental strategy, and consideration for product design. These are the contents, and 5 hours are given to us, and we'll complete this in 5 years. So the first part, this one will be completed in 1 hour, that is today. Then from this need for life cycle environmental strategies, useful life extension strategies, and end of life strategies, this will be completed in next 2 lectures, and the remaining part will be completed in the next 2 lectures of that. So total 5 lectures, and this will be completed in 5 lectures. So we'll start with the first word that is given, that is sustainable development. So what do you mean by sustainable development? So sustainable development is development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own need. What it talks about? It talks about sustainability. Sustainability related to the environment. Now, whatever we are using from the environment, the number one thing that we are using from the environment is water. The number two thing that we are using from the environment are the fossil fuels. Then number three thing that we are using from the environment is the space. We don't have space right now. People are exploring new areas to build their homes. So if now another thing is fresh air. You can see the AQI is so high. So fresh air is not available. The ozone layer is depleting. We have issue with that. So all this is creating, maybe after few years, the generation which will come, what will be available for them? If there is no water and we have all the developed technology and though no water, they may not be able to live on Earth. So like it is with like water, it is with all the other resources that are available on the Earth. And I'm talking about the natural resources which Earth has given us, or the atmosphere has given, or the universe has given us. Maybe the galaxy has given us whatever we want to say, but the natural resources. I'm not saying I'm talking about the artificial resources. Definitely, there will be much more improvement in the artificial resources. But if there is no water, all the water in the sea that cannot be drank. Okay. If there is no fresh air, people will carry oxygen mask, and maybe how many days they will survive like that. That's why this concept of sustainability, it says that development is necessary. Do the development, but and that development should meet the need of the present. Okay, if you need something for the present generation, do it, but without compromising the ability of future generations. You should do it in such a way that the future generations should also have, apart from the luxuries, the things which the mother nature or earth has given to them. We don't have any right to take it from them for our need, for our needs to be fulfilled right now. That is what is sustainability. Now, this has evolved over a period of time. So, I am now talking about this 1990s, where WCED, that is World Commission on Environment and Development, World Commission on Environment and Development. So, a committee was set at the world level, and it was related to the environment development. It planned out to ensure use of environmental resources to satisfy present demands is managed in a way that they are not left so damaged or impoverished that they cannot be used by future generation. Whatever environmental resources we have to satisfy the present demand can be used, but they should not be left damaged, and they, now you can see they are not left so damaged. So damage is definitely going to happen. Damage is definitely going to happen. The consider the global warming. Because of the global warming, already there has been damage, and in years to come there will be more damage. So they are saying that it will not happen that there will not be any damage, but they are not left so damaged or impoverished that they cannot be used for by future generation. So this, the committee was set to ensure the use of this environmental resources in a most appropriate way. The electronic waste which is thrown anywhere, the medical waste, the biomedical waste which is thrown anywhere. So if that is creating harm to the environment, creating harm to the earth, we saw in the earlier module that the emissions are going to the air, they are going to the land, they are going to the water. If it is going to the water, then the sea creatures are may not live for longer time, and slowly it will start affecting each and everything, because this entire thing in the universe is related, interrelated. So if one is affecting, the other parameters or the other resources may also be affected. So that should not be damaged. For that, this committee started some work. One thing I am going to tell from this is, okay, over the period things like this were happening, and finally this WCED, this committee, World Commission on Environment and Development, they have made this statement, and they have planned something. So that is called as, that is about sustainable development. So the continuation with this sustainable development is the next point, that is key factors in sustainable development, how the sustainable development can be done. Now, in 1990s, I think I told this is 1990s. I think it was in 1972 to be more precise. This when this WCED planned this 1972, and then in 1980s, this Brundtland report had come, and it explicitly called for a change in direction with regard to the industrial activity. Now, over the period, there were committees set at different level, and then this committee, it gave the report, and the report said that changes are needed more with respect to the industrial activity. That is more harm to the environment, more harm to the for the sustainability is because of the industrial activity. So more effort should be taken for this industrial activity, how we can stop the use of this industrial activity which is affecting the environment, rather saying to stop, how we can reframe this industrial activity or redesign this industrial activity so that the effect on the environment is less. So I use the word reframe, or to be more accurate or coming close to this is the word redesign. Means we are, if you remember about industrial revolution, in the first industrial revolution it was all manual thing, mechanized thing. In the second industrial revolution, steam power, what we call it as steam engines were developed. Now the steam engine, it gave power to the mechanical things and it was made automated. In the third industrial revolution we had industrial rain, so electricity by then was developed and then everything was automated. So every time you can see, and the fourth industrial revolution, which we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, where IoT and this additive manufacturing and all these things have been there in the fourth industrial revolution. Now, in every industrial revolution, what is happening? These industrial activities are evolving. That's why it is called industrial revolution. The industrial activities are evolving, and that is somewhere creating some harm to the environment, and which was not taken care of till now. It was taken care of in this case, and in this Brundtland report, it said that industrial activities should to be redesigned. We'll see how it will be. It prompted the concept of producing more with less. So earlier it thought that okay, industrial activities should be redesigned. So you produce more and take less input. That is productivity or efficiency, whatever we call it. The productivity is the more correct term in this case, not the efficiency. So whatever we call productivity or efficiency, that should be increased. You produce more with less. So input required will be less. Input required will be less means the environmental harm can be in to such a to a small extent be prevented. The development strategy indicated for achieving this change is now fully integrated into the guidelines of environmental protection. So based on this, producing more with less, based on this concept, there were some strategies defined for the development of the industry. Strategies defined for the use of or design of the industrial activities. And now this development strategies which were indicated that time, now these strategies are fully integrated into guidelines of environmental protection. Means now I'm talking about today, whatever design is done, that design has this industrial that design of this industrial activity is in line with the environmental sustainability, which was not there now, but now it is fully integrated. It is there by default, it is there by default, it is there that the e-waste, industrial waste should be minimum as possible. It should not harm the atmosphere. The emission which is coming out of the industry, you must have heard about so many industries have been cleared from this Thane Belapur industrial belt. I'm just taking example of our nearby area, but it was happening all over the world. And those emissions are again those emissions were harmful to the environment. But now, how afterwards it was thought that how these emissions can be controlled. What are the ways to control these emissions? Even the BS norms or the Euro the norms for the vehicle, they were on the basis of emissions. So how the engine can be more efficient and how emissions can be reduced. So all this had come because of this effect of environmental integration into the design process. So it said that establish environmental goals, regulations, incentives, and standard, and make more effective use of economic instrument. Broaden environmental assessment. Encourage action by industry. Increase capacity to deal with industrial hazard, and strengthen international efforts to help developing countries. So these were some of the guidelines or the strategies which were developed, and now you can see all these are there whenever a product is designed. Establish environmental goal. What are your goals in order to protect the environment? What regulations are you following, or what are the regulations? Give some incentives or make some standards. Then make more effective use of economic instruments. Whatever economic instruments are there, you use it effectively, so you do not have to produce more. Broaden environmental assessment. Do the assessment of environmental effect because of the product that we are manufacturing. Encourage action by industry. Then encourage action by industry. So industry people should take more action on this. So it was a time where there were no norms or no strict rules to follow. So for the environmental protection, but it was strategies. This was strategies were developed, and the rules came later. So this is at the time when there were no rules. Then increase capacity to deal with industrial hazard. Whatever hazards are happening because of the industry. Suppose there is a chemical industry and the chemical industry is leaving all its waste. Where it is putting the waste? Either it is putting it in the sea, maybe it is putting it some river, or it is putting it in the land, or it is some way it is putting it back to the air. So this hazardous industrial waste, increase capacity to deal with that. How it can be minimized, or by using some other chemical or other treatment, how that industrial waste or hazard can be minimized. So we have to increase capacity for that. Then strengthen international effort to help developing countries. So these were the strategies at the world level, at the level of the different developed countries. Then in July 1992, delegates from more than 170 countries, they met in Rio de Janeiro, and for the United Nations Conference on Environmental Development. So earlier it was World Commission Environment and Development, and then later another this UN country, United Nations, they met and they created this United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which was first World Commission for on Environment and Development. So this 170 countries, they met in this met for this conference, and they ratified the statement. They made a statement, and what was the statement? In order to achieve sustainable development. No, they all agreed. Since they all met, they all agreed that there is a need for achieving sustainable development, and they came to this conclusion that in order to achieve sustainable development, environmental protection shall constitute an integral part of the development process and cannot be considered in isolation from it. In order to have this sustainability of the environmental resources, environmental protection shall constitute as an integral part of the development process. So whatever development will happen hereafter, there in all those development, you cannot isolate environment from it. You have to consider environment protection as an integral part of whatever development you are going to do hereafter. So that was the statement which was given in 1992. Then further, it was also observed that the human activities are part of socio-economic subsystem integrated into the ecosphere. It says that the human activities are the part of socio-economic subsystem which is integrated into ecosphere, the entire sphere, going on to emphasize that economic growth that is uncontrolled and based essentially on the intensive consumption of resources is not sustainable in long term, precisely because the ecosphere is finite and contains limited resources. So what is it that they are saying? That the ecosphere, or the environment, or we can call it as the earth and atmosphere around it, or whatever we want, the word used here is the ecosphere. It is finite. Whatever resources are there, they are finite and contains limited resources. It cannot be used for a long period of time. Like I told you in earlier lecture, that koila, coal is not it's not available in abundance nowadays. There was a time in time few years back that coal was used it was abundantly available and it was used so much that now it's not available. So that is one of the example we have been hearing about, that there will not be any water available on the earth after 2040, something like that. It was heard a few years back. So it is saying that this is limited, it is not in abundance. So whatever human activities are done in this socio-economical subsystem are integrated in the, going to on to emphasize that economic growth that is uncontrollable. Economic growth is uncontrollable and it is based essentially on the intensive consumption of resources. The growth that is happening, the development that is happening, it is based on what? It is based on the consumption of resources. If there are no resources, then this economic growth or development may not happen. So it is based on this intensive consumption of the resources and not sustainable in long term. It cannot be available for the future generation. It has to be used in a much what we can say smart way, much effective way. So that is another thing which was observed here. So what is the meaning of this sentence? The meaning of this sentence is the economic development is possible only because of the resources that are available, but the resources are limited. So if we continue using the resources without thinking, we can, if we continue to use the resources, it will not be available because the resources are limited in the environment. Accordingly, the consequences of draining environmental resources must be taken into great account in decisional processes, since the environment supports human society through three important types of services. So this was another statement given in one of the conference in 1993, and it says that the consequences of draining environmental resources, we are using the environmental resources and it will be drained, it will not be available after a few years, and the consequences of exhausting that resources must be taken into account in the decisional processes. So whatever decisions are made, whatever developments are made, this consequence of this has to be taken into consideration, since the environmental support human society through three important types. What are those three types? Environment is providing raw material and all other primary resources that support human activities. Environment is providing it is constituting a dumping reservoir to absorb and sometimes recycle rewaste the waste from activities. And the third thing is performing other irreplaceable functions for the life of mankind. Example, stabilizing of climate conditions on the global scale or defense from UV rays by the ozone layer and so on. So what are the three things that the environment is supporting to the human? First, it is providing the raw material. It is providing the chemicals. It is providing the metal. It is providing water. It is providing the oxygen. It is providing a pleasant environment to live and all those things. It is providing one help. Second is it is constituting a dumping reservoir. So people, where is the dust thrown? The dust is thrown on the land only, and it is acting as the reservoir to absorb all this dust. Either it is dumped on the land, or it is put into the sea, or it is put into the air. So sometimes it recycles the waste from these activities. And the third way that it is doing is performing other irreplaceable function. Now these are the functions which cannot be replaced, like preventing us from the UV rays or by the ozone layer. This can be done by ozone layer. This cannot be created by human. It cannot be created by human. It cannot be an artificial layer. It is a natural layer. So whatever people may do, they cannot prevent this uh, coming of UV rays from the sun on the earth, in the atmosphere of the earth. Only ozone layer can do it. So if we continue doing these activities and harming this environment, then this cannot be replaced. That's why it is written performing other irreplaceable functions which are given by this nature for the life of mankind. So another is stabilization of climatic condition on the global scale. Now, have, if you remember that what you studied in school was like in India there are three seasons: summer, rainy, and winter, and each season is for 4 months. But what you are seeing now, The seasons are not fixed. Stabilization of climatic condition, it's not there, and the global warming and all the things which are happening uh, in India also, but in other countries the effect is more. The Amazon forest, it burns, it catches fire. Why? So all this cannot be replaced by human, irreplaceable function. These considerations have led to the development of a third concept of sustainability from an ecological viewpoint, which integrates the economic and socio-cultural aspect. So one is the economic aspect, the second is the socio-cultural aspect. That is, we are producing a product. The product should be produced in such a way that it should benefit the society. And the third consideration is the ecological viewpoint in the design of the product. So all this discussion happened over many years, and I have summarized it in few slides, maybe 2 3 slides, and told to you. So what is the role of science and technology in sustainable environment, in sustainable development? What science and technology can do? In figure, I am going to show the figure. Let me show it to you. This is the figure. Social, culture, economic, and environmental elements are represented. This is economic factor here, socio-cultural factor here, and environmental factor is there. The principal factors involved in the process of sustainable development can be imagined as ideally placed at the vertices of an equilateral triangle. So this is the vertex. This is an equilateral triangle. These are the three vertex of the equilateral triangle, and the economic factor is there as this vertex. The socio-cultural factor is there at this vertex, and the environmental factor is there at this vertex. Now, this graphical representation here, there is a trade-off between science and technology here, and the figure, graphical representation in figure evidences that the interaction between these key elements, which must be harmonized for sustainable development, there has to be some interaction between these elements, these three elements. And who is going to do this? It is been done by, it will be done by the science and technology, so that this factor, this factor, and this factor should be taken into consideration. Center of triangle, you can see there is the center of triangle, point of equilibrium between the three factors. Here, this is the center of the triangle, or point of equilibrium, or CG if you can say, represent condition where sustainable development is fully achieved. So if you are moving away from here, suppose if you are moving here, if you are here, then you are taking care of the economical factor and you are ignoring this social and environmental factor. If you are moving the science and technology, if it is moving in such a way that it is here, it comes here, then you are taking care of only socio-cultural factor, maybe slightly environmental factor, but this economic factor you are ignoring. And if you are coming here at this point, the science and technology, if it is at this point, then it will be only for from environmental point of view. It will neither be beneficial to the society and not be economic. So these three factors which are presented at the vertex of the of a F1 equilateral triangle has to be equally taken care of. So you can go through this again. Center of triangle represent condition where sustainable development is fully achieved, with all other points represent condition where some element have a different weight in defining direction of development. Okay, so you should not move more towards any of the vertex, but you should be designing the product in such a way that you are at the CG of this triangle. Points on edges of triangle. Now these are the three edges of the triangle. If I talk about this edge of the triangle, it represents condition where only two factors are considered, excluding the third. So if the product is designed in such a way that it is on the edge of this, means you are taking care of economic factor, you are taking care of socio-cultural factor, you are completely ignoring this environmental factor. The design of the product is such that only if it is on this edge, then you are taking care of this factor only, and if it is lying more towards this, then economical factor is taken more care of and this is taken less care of. Similarly, if you are on this edge of the triangle, then you are ignoring socio culture, and if you are on this edge, you are ignoring the economic factor or the costly ho jayega product. You should have a trade-off between 1 2 and 3 factors. That is the role of science and technology in sustainable development. You should design a product in such a way that it is not costly, it is beneficial to the society, and it is taking care of the environment also while the product is manufactured, and also while the product is being in use or in service. Okay, now the next point here is design in context of environmental question. So the design activity should be done by considering the environmental aspect. So we'll see what is written here. Design especially consisting of molding material and energy flows from the purpose for the purpose of satisfying the need of humankind. So design, what it is doing, it is molding the material, whatever material or resources we are taking from the environment, from the ores, from the mines, it is molded, it is made, it is given some change, and the energy also is used, and for what purpose? For satisfying the needs of human. Now design ultimately becomes a process of transformation. Now understand here, what we need a product. Who gives us the product? The industry gives us the product. And from where the industry gets the product which it is giving to us, it gets the product by utilizing the energy, by utilizing the resources available in the nature, and then it is converting that resources and energy into the product, and that product is given to the human. So design ultimately becomes a process of transformation from the resources to the customer, when the needs generating it are contextualized in the patterns and flows of natural system, assimilating the organizing principles of the ecosphere. So who is at the center? The design process. Following factors allow the identification of the situations most appropriate for a design intervention directed at environmental protection. Though there are some factors which I am going to present, and it allows the situation where the design intervention can be done. Where I will put it in another way, that the factors that I am going to tell now, those factors are such a factors that the design can be modified there from the environmental protection point of view. So some situations where this design can be modified. The first one is efficiency of extraction of material depends on the technology used in the process and on the specific requirement of the manufacturer who will process the material. Now, how we extract the material? We extract the material from the mines, or we extract the material from the industry. Maybe if it is the secondary industry, third, tertiary industry, it is taking the material from the earlier industry. So based on which technology are we extracting the material? Are we making the material? That can that be changed? Can it be designed in such a way that the process of converting one form of material to the other form of material, maybe the metal sheets which are converted into a car, metal sheet which is converted into car. So that is conversion from one form to other form. It is converted into the car, what we can say, structure of the car. So can we use a technology in such a way that it will not harm the environment or protect the environment? This is first. Second is efficiency of working the material depends on technology use and on the design of the production process, on the of the products and their implementation. So can we uh, design the production process, the manufacturing process in such a way that it will not affect the environment? Then collecting the used material. When we talk about recycling the material, when we talk about the last stage of the material, when the product is where the product is discarded, can we have a better process? Can we think it in such a way that the environmental protection is protected, environment is protected? Or efficiency of recycling, again when that come back to the industry, when we are recycling it, can we do it in a way such that the environment will be protected? See, efficiency of recycling material depends on, now this particular thing depends on what? It depends on the product which is recycled, it depends on the technology that is used, it also depends on the government policies. If there are policies made by the government, then the industry will follow it. Otherwise, industry will try to ignore the policies, try to ignore the environmental protection process. They will try to recycle it in such a way that it is less cost efficient, it is less costly and cost efficient. government policy, it also depends on the market for recycled material and on regulations imposed on the customer and producer. So these are the areas or situations where this design people can intervene. They can design it in such a way that the products are manufactured in a way to protect the environment and not to harm the environment. Next point in this is due to its great potential, therefore, design becomes one of the most influential factor in the development of sustainable production system and product. So earlier only I told you that who is at the center, the design is at the center. So anything that is manufactured is based on how it is designed. If you are manufacturing a product by additive manufacturing, if you are manufacturing a product by casting, if you are manufacturing a product by machining, these are three different methods of manufacturing. Then how you can best manufacture it, what changes you can make that the emissions which are coming out, the energy that is utilized, the effect that it is creating to the environment should be minimized. Obviously it cannot be made zero, but it can be minimized. So where is it that this environment can be prevented? That is the design stage. So in the second module we have seen so much which is dependent on the design of the product, but we never came across this environmental factor. Now adding to that what we studied earlier, here now here also we are seeing that सबसे important phase कौन सा है product का, the design phase of the product. Okay, so all this can concerns and care can be taken at the design phase only. It has been slow process to get full understanding of the non-negotiable environmental need. Non-negotiable environmental need. I told you earlier also, which cannot be replaced, which cannot be negotiated. What we are getting from the environment, like the ozone layer and the climate change. So it has been slow process to understand it, and of the potential and responsibility that the vast type of design intervention have as toward the environmental question. And since we are so much late to understand that this ecosystem which is in which we are living, it is limited, it is perishable. I can use the word perishable here, even though it's not fits here, but I will use the word perishable, that after a few years it will not be as it is now. But this has been understood slowly. That's why the design of the product can prevent it. That was also understood slowly, and the potential and responsible that a vast type of design intervention, that is the interference of the design, has towards the environmental question, that was also understood slowly. And that's why now we are fighting with the change in environment. Had it been understood 50 years back, we would have good air quality index. We would have same 4 months summer, 4 months winter, and 4 months rainy, and all that. Although attention was first drawn to the necessary influence of socio-ecological system on technical design in the 1960s, Asimov in 1960s. So this person have worked so much for the manufacturing industry. Okay. Asimov. So in 1960s, he had drawn this attention. The transition from design for need to design for environment first began in 1970. See, there's a gap of 10 years. This person has already told that this should happen. What should happen? Instead of designing for need, you should design for environment. Obviously, need has to be considered, cost has to be considered, but environment should be also be thought of. It was first coined in 60, and then the work started in 1970. Not the actual work, maybe slow, some attention was drawn after a gap of a decade, 10 years. At the beginning of 1990, it was thus possible to have an overall vision of the effect of environmental issue on design activities extending to the most diverse areas. So you can see from 60 to 70, nothing happened, and from 70 it started till 1990, that is after 2 decades. So total 3 decades. It was possible to have an overall vision of the effect of environmental issue on the design activity. So if the design activities are changed, the environmental issues can be slightly modified. And here we are talking only from industrial point of view, because all products that we are using are manufactured in industry only.
In the next video, I will discuss about design for environment. Till then, like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos. Thank you.